Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Homebody Haven podcast. I'm your host, Esprit, and this is a show all about love, but at the root, self love. Before we get into today's episode, I want to do a little housekeeping and get it out of the way. If you are watching this episode on YouTube, please make sure that you like, comment, engage with the video, and subscribe to the channel. And if you are listening onto any other platform, please make sure that you follow along as well. You can follow me personally at esprit.oree on Instagram and TikTok. Facebook is the same, just without the period. And if you are interested in working with me one-on-one, you can learn more info down in the description below, and also pick up your copy of the 5 Channels of Awareness workbook. It's a digital workbook with a ton of guided meditations, a little bit of information about the 5 Channels of Awareness. You can also head on over to the episode from last week where we dive a little bit more deeply into those channels as well. Now, for today's episode, I wanted to talk about creativity as a tool in building your self-love, self-awareness, and an overall self-care tool. And recently, in the past week, from filming this episode, I had the opportunity to have an incredible set of conversations with 8 different creatives and artists here in Charleston and really get to the heart of the art and the root of why they do what they do. And a lot of answers were similar, but there were some really unique and impactful and important answers when we talk about creativity as a tool for cultural revolution and what scares these artists, where are their fears, what does success mean to them, where does the joy really come from in creativity. And it got me thinking about my own journey with creativity and artistry, particularly in performance and theater, and how I've gone from using it as this form of escapism and as a way for people to not see me, and then transitioning it into an opportunity to almost meet the character where they are and kind of blend them and myself. And what that's done for me on an internal level, but also hearing what it's done for a lot of these artists and creatives on their own level. So in these interviews, which will be a new series on this channel called Creative Conversations, I spoke with poets, writers, musicians, visual artists, dancers, actors, and asked them a series of the same questions. And it was such a fun project for me. I'm not a videographer or editor by trade necessarily, but taking on a new project that allowed me to kind of hone in on what these questions are going to be, practice them, and get sort of the routine of discussion down while not sounding robotic and too rehearsed. But going through that process, being able to reach out to people and them actually say yes and get excited about it was really wonderful. And then being able to take all of that video footage, edit it down to a 15-minute compiled video, it was just, it like sparked this part of my brain that I haven't really accessed in the same way in a while. And it just made me think about the fact that creativity and artistry is not only about producing something really beautiful for other people to consume, which is wonderful in and of itself. It's a huge part of it. But it's also giving yourself an opportunity to just sit with yourself, right? To calm your nervous system, to calm your mind, to focus on a singular subject. And usually your breathing is at a steady pace. You might have music going that's like keeping you inspired and excited about what you're creating. And just the environment that creativity fosters externally, but also internally, right? It accesses certain parts of the brain and the nervous system, the breath, focus and intention, inspiration, imagination, and all of these things that we sort of automatically did as children when we go to sit down and draw something or write something, that as adults we kind of lose just on how our society is built, right? So creativity and artistry are things that are really culturally relevant and important in a lot of aspects of history, but there's also this large focus on logic and science and tech, and there's not a problem with that. But when you are overwhelmed or stressed out or overloaded, or it feels like there's so much going on, sometimes pulling out a piece of paper and starting to doodle or paint something or try and sculpt something, or if you know how to make beats, I guess, try and make some music, start writing and maybe write a piece of poetry, and just whatever it is that fuels you. And it also got me thinking about how when we think about creativity, we just think about the fine arts, right? Think about acting and music and dance and art. But creativity as a self-care tool especially goes so far beyond that, right? It goes into beauty, makeup and hair and even nail art, but also into cooking and gardening and other activities that give you a moment to just breathe and be there, right? You're not dealing with work issues. You're not dealing with deadlines that you don't want to have to look at. You're not dealing with coworkers or friends or family drama or issues. You're focusing on a singular task that grabs all of your focus. It allows you to use your hands and really get in there, use your mind, ease your breath, and then you create something beautiful. And there's a pride, I think that feels, I'll describe it for myself. For example, when I finished the compiled video of some of the interviews for Creative Conversations, it was such a satisfying feeling. And not really in this big, triumphant, like, yeah, I did it. It was like a stillness and a calm and a warmth where I was like, oh, I really like this. Like, this was fun. This was something new for me. It satisfied that part of me that enjoys performance and acting and communication with words that acting gives me as well. But it also fuels that part of me that loves to converse and loves to have conversation and get into people's minds and maybe be surprised by what people will say, and truly not judging a book by its cover, because some people said things that I just didn't expect them to. And I'm really excited to share these episodes as well. But it's inspired me to, one, continue the series, but also reimagine how I view myself as a creative and how that can transpire in other areas of my life. I used to cook a lot, and I mean, I still cook, right? I still have to eat, but I used to make pretty intricate dishes, and I haven't really dove into that in a long time. And when I say intricate, they're not, Michelin star meals by any means, but I would lay out all of my ingredients. I'd hand chop my onion and my garlic and my peppers and mushrooms and carrots and just whatever vegetable spreads, and lay everything out in their own particular bowls or across a cutting board. I'd get out whatever protein I'm going to be using. I'd get out my rice and cook everything down. And I would just make a beautiful meal. And of course, it was delicious, so it felt satiating in that aspect, but it also satisfied this creative part of me that wanted to make something beautiful to present. Like, I love to take pictures of my food and show them to my mom, or if somebody was at the house. And of course, the main satisfying feeling in it is actually consuming it and it being really good. But there was something about that process that just slowed everything down. My mind didn't wander to other places. If I was stressed or overwhelmed, it really helped to calm and center myself. And that also shows up when my mom and I will do the flower boxes in our windows, and being able to put our hands in the dirt and fill the containers, right? And even everything out, pop the seeds or the fresh plants in there, put it into the windowsill, water them, and that becomes a meditative practice, right? Especially if you're gardening in the dirt, like actually getting on your hands and knees and getting in the dirt and creating beautiful plots for flowers or food to grow. And I really feel that, like, as adults, sometimes we lose our creative edge unless you are a self-proclaimed artist, right? That's the profession you're trying to pursue, or it's just something that you have to do, right? You've never lost that imagination, the imaginative spark that we have as children, right? You just didn't lose it. You kept on doing it either as a hobby or as a career. There are some people that got so lost in maybe the institutional path with education and school, or they immediately were thrust maybe into the workforce, and so they've just been working their whole life, or they've been studying their whole life, and they've lost that little spark. And I encourage those who maybe can resonate with that, right? Maybe you've just been in school for a long time and you focus a lot on education, and there isn't something for you to do. You haven't found or rediscovered that thing that makes you kind of tick on an internal level. I just implore you to find what that thing is, right? I've been a little up and down the past few months, but getting back into acting, trying out this new project, starting the podcast, and even looking at my bodywork practice. I'm a stretch therapist here in Charleston. Looking at my bodywork practice as a creative venture as well, right? There's a standard sequence that I follow, but being able to ebb and flow with someone else's body on the table and really pay attention to the way I'm directing certain muscle groups or moving through a sequence pattern, it feels creative. It feels like artistry, and it feels like I'm producing something beautiful. And of course, the best result is when someone gets up off the table and they're like, oh, I just feel so nice. I feel relaxed. And creating, like, that's the transformation, right? That's the final result. That's the showcasing and the release, right? And it feels good to approach it from the perspective of creativity and artistry, rather than just looking at it as this mechanical movement of the body, right? And I thought about this with my mom. She's a retired hairstylist. There's an artistry and creativity and beauty in that, right? The release and the transformation and the presentation of it is turning the chair around and them seeing their final haircut or new hair color. And makeup artists, it's the same thing. And nail artists, it's the same thing. And just how we define creativity as a society and what it fuels, whether you're making money from it or not, there's a satisfaction and a calm and an ease that comes from producing something with your own hands and with your own mind, especially if it is an idea that has just appeared. And I just encourage everyone to find that creative spark again, because it makes such a difference in how you approach life. It becomes a meditative practice, especially if standard meditation feels intimidating or it feels like something that you're not good at, which everyone is good at meditation. You just can't overthink it. But seeing it as a practice of meditation and a practice of self-care, I think it would encourage people to do it more often, to find whatever that thing is for them and just do it more often. Do it as a daily practice or an inclusion of your routine throughout the week. And I found something earlier because I wanted to see how creativity appears in the body from a biological space. And I found a few different things, so I'll sort of compile them. But starting some sort of creative project literally rewires your brain, right? It boosts your parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for that rest, digest, and restore process in the body, as opposed to the sympathetic, which is that fight or flight, really anxious, really tense kind of protective or survival response in the body. And doing all of that lowers your stress levels. It lowers the amount of hyperactivity that's happening in your body and your brain. It allows your breath to kind of get to an even space. It encourages a better mood. It encourages less worry, less anxiety, and even better sleep after you're done. And so you really can't go wrong with trying to include a little bit more creativity in your life, even if you don't consider yourself a creative. Because I've spoken with some people who are like, I'm not an artist or I'm not a creative, and maybe not in the traditional sense, but there is something that you do, something that you know how to do, that satisfies that same feeling that an artist would get when they finish a painting, or that a writer would get when they finish their book or they finish a piece, or that an actor would get when they get off stage after a performance. There's going to be something in your life that feels like, oh, I've done it. Here it is. Like, watch it, read it, listen to it, just consume it. There's going to be something that you have that fulfills that need, I think, that we all have. And if you don't have it now, you find it. You figure out what that thing is, because it changes your life, right? Like, it changes how you're able to regulate your emotions and maybe process a difficult time, because you're able to pour it into something productive and something beautiful and something that requires your full focus and attention. And it allows you to kind of shut off the noise a little bit. And so I really just encourage people to find the thing that makes them creatively tick. And if you want some inspiration from other artists, please make sure that you tune in for the Creative Conversation series. I'll have the promo video up soon, probably in the next couple of days after this episode posts. But I would love to see people write in the comments, what is your creative outlet? Is it something in the traditional fine arts, or is it maybe something that we'd all be a little bit surprised to hear? Right? So me in the traditional arts is acting, performance, right? That's what my creative passion and project is in there. And on the other hand, I love to cook and create beautiful meals and presentations with lots of color and texture. That feels creative and artistic to me as well. So what are your two different types of creative ventures? If you have two. If you only have one, that's perfectly fine as well. I'd love to see you write it in the comments. If you're listening, head on over to the YouTube channel and pop that in the comments as well. And so with the podcast, I am trying to figure out best day and time to post. Obviously, today's episode is going up a little bit late because last week and most of this week I was doing the filming and editing for the Creative Conversations, and it just took up so much of my brain power that this is the first moment that I have energy to post. So typically episodes are posting on Wednesdays at 11, and I think going forward we're going to switch it to Thursday mornings at 11 as well. So keep a lookout for next week's episode, which will be posting on Thursday at 11 a.m. Okay? Thank you all so much for watching or listening if you are. And I will see you next week, Thursday at 11, for another episode of the Homebody Haven podcast. Thank you so much. Bye.